Hello, today is Sunday. It is the 9th of September 2012. Let's do a review video of the last 3 months or so on the silver market. We'll go over the methodology, a lot of different opinions or previous opinions as well. And let's start with one right now. We're currently at 33 and change, or up about 5 fiat dollars in a little under 3 months. Was that easy to call? Within that time frame, maybe not so easy. The fact that we go up there, that to me is a cinch, because it seems like it's a cinch to go past 100 sooner than later this decade. Therefore, 33 would come before 100, as 50 also comes before 100. And then when people ask me, oh, is it a good time to buy silver? I did a video stating do what you got to do, and I don't know the situation for most people, but if you're really looking to get in, you got extra fiat dollars, and you're not sure right off the bat, I think it is an amazing time to start getting in towards the market. So anyways, at this time it was very difficult to state. You had this breakout on this point here. I don't got a drawing tool, but you can see the orange circle to explain an area of a chart that I'm referring to. And it followed with a red candle doing a whole bunch of nothing. That is a bearish setup. Let's move on to, say, the 19th. We'll take a look at the daily chart. At this point, it was doing a whole bunch of nothing, to say the least. All these images are in the directory link in the more information box. And there you can see on the 21st that it had a big down move. Was there anything stating that this was going to be the case? If you look at this on the hourly time frame, well, once you broke down below the support level, you've seen how you have resistance where it used to be support. There's a resistance, there's a support, and boom, down she went. Let's move this on now to the 25th of June, and what do we see here? Wow, well, we see that it came all the way down, and you had a sudden breakout pattern. Therefore, what you'd be looking for when you see this oftentimes is a move just a little over 27 as a potential area where it may go back higher. And now when we take a look at this, there's that move back to 27. Of course, when you look at this now, you're like, eek, okay, the first Fibonacci support from point A to point B didn't hold too well, and the second one's breaking down. You got to be a lot of really cautious now if you're buying at this point. I still think you don't get out here. If you buy here, you don't get out at this stage, but you're just a little bit weary, to say the least, anyway. And we take a look at the 27th. Let's see if we can find the hourly again. Oh, 5 hour will work. And what you can see in here is that if you didn't get stopped out here, it's just choppy. It might turn around, but at this stage, there was no reason to think that the bull market was going to start now. In fact, a lot of talk was being stated about will the price action go down to this 20 area. And at this point, when you're having a third test of this significant level, you got to be very weary, to say the least. And on the 5 hour time frame at this point, you'd see nothing here to state that the bottom is in. Although it was the bottom, though, but nothing there stated that. And just because you're at a previous level on that, considering it was hit that many times, I wasn't a big fan then. But obviously, it held in there. And you see, this is the day after the bottom, a nice green candle. You can't tell simply by looking at that. Say, hey, that's the bottom. No, it just doesn't work that way. 7th is July the 3rd. Now let's take a look at the daily chart again. Fuller momentum, but you really need to see this 18 average start to turn over, and it took a little bit of time, but it did. July the 4th, you can take a look at silver on the daily time frame. It's a nice confirmation day when it does stuff like that. Breaks above the 18 average of highs, but still a lot of work at this time was needed to be done. At the week, when the week was over that week on July the 6th, you can see it was moving back down and obviously breaking below 26, which it didn't, would be horrendous. I guess good thing that it didn't. And now on the 9th of June, still just chopping in there, to say the least. Let's move a couple more days ahead. Let's take a look at what the 6 hour chart back then looked at. Because a big level that I started looking at was the 29.91 high and the lows that established at 26.13. You find this resistance in here, you find resistance in here, and quite frankly, when you break down below and you're down to 26.91, you come back here, well, that's where you short. And quite frankly, it wouldn't have turned out to be the greatest of shorts, even though you can see it made this lower high. It just meant that you would have been stopped for a gain at some point later on. If we go to the next day, we got silver on the daily chart. And you can see this nice little bullish green candle that came into play. Still, though, within the declining 18 band at that time frame. Let's move forward. Let's say go to the 17th. Again, just chopping around, just still indecisive with a negative bias at this point. Let's move ahead to, say, the 25th, and again, just not doing anything. Really got to get above this previous high at that time, which obviously it would end up doing such. Let's take a look at the last day of July and how it looked. And you can see at this point here, it was starting to turn around because you got above this 18 average band. You had another hit of 28.42. And how important are higher lows at this point? Super important. August the 3rd. Let's take a look at the daily chart now. Again, looking pretty good. And his situation here is you come back down. If you could follow through with one day with a higher low, higher high, higher close, and a day after that showing good confirmation for the up move, then it would be looking very, very good. So let's move on to the next day, which would be Monday the 6th on the 15-minute time frame. Well, obviously, it's following it up nicely, going up just a little bit higher. You can see a nice little pattern where you have this move where you go from point A to point B. Notice that it hits this bottom pretty much perfectly, and it's back here, so there's a good bullish setup here. Quite frankly, there's also a good bullish setup breaking past that previous high as well. So let's move on now to the 7th. Let's do the 27-hour chart. Again, this is looking good. And this is when I was starting to say that it looked like it was going to reach 30 within about a month or so. So if you think it's going to reach 30 at this point, if you were to play some options for September, and I'm not a big fan of that game, but if you did, well, then obviously they cashed in really, really nicely. Yes. Okay, let's move on. Let's go on to the 10th of August. Find the silver chart. Let's do the daily chart in here. What a bullish. I'm right in here. If you don't see the bullishness right here, I don't know what to say. Because, yeah, I'll say a lot of times, yeah, it's got to break a certain level. And this certain level is 28.42, which meant that it was 14 cents lower from the breakout point. But when you see how strong this looks, sometimes you just want to get in earlier because it's just looking so good, this being one of them. And let's take a look at what the 16th looked like. Okay, well, it's still hanging in there. It's even looking better than it was before. A lot of bullishness was being shown at this point. So when it was at time to call that it was going to 30, it was relatively easy to do. On the 19th of August, ooh, I don't got silver here. Yeah, I got money supply here. So, let me take a look at the money supply since 1913. Yeek, it's went way higher. Yeah. Okay, so let's now move on to the 20th then and see how the daily chart looked at this point. And there is that breakout pattern. Now I know for sure at this point that we're going to be seeing 30 relatively soon. And when we go back down to these previous days, we're going to see that so clearly. Further upside. How is that a surprise? It's not. It's not a surprise. Let's now go to, say, August the 22nd. Actually, this is the, August the 22nd. You got more further upside. Okay, that's looking good. August the 23rd. Let's take a look at daily silver again. And there you have it. But wait a second here. It didn't find resistance at 30. So is that a bad call, saying it was going to 30? No. It was a great call, because it successfully managed to do so without any potential hazard within the chart going, having risks or stops being violated. There's a better way of saying it. But now you want to reevaluate the message of the market here. Okay, wait a second here. I guess 30 is now support. And not only is it support, but it's probably a good time to get in on any pullback. Of course, 30 never came back, by the way. So you would have really had to adjust the message of the market. Now, on the 24th of August, you can see that it didn't find support at that 30 level. So you can still be waiting, let's just put it that way, for it to take place. Let's now go to the 27th of August. And notice that it's continuing to go further. Well, the next level I know is 32.66, also trumped by 33.5. Okay, well, that's going to be time to find an entry point in here. I'm not going to do it now because it still needs to have some sort of correctionary phase telling me to get in. Okay, so now let's go to the 28th of August. Take a look at this on the daily chart. Okay, anything showing me on the hourly chart to get in? I guess maybe a deeper pullback down to the 30 area still, so no reason to get in yet. Okay, so let's go to the 29th of August. Then we got the daily chart for silver. Okay, well, at least you're correcting a bit through time. I mean, if you do this a bit more, you just buy. But let's continue on, and let's go to the 30th of August and take a look at the daily chart for silver. Oh, you had a little bit of a retracement. It didn't quite make 30, though. In fact, if we take a look at this on the hourly time frame, we can see that it came close. But when you're trying to buy a 30 and it's close, it just doesn't work. But at this point here, what I was looking for a short setup here. I wanted to go up to this line of 30.62, put a stop above this previous high of about 30.95 or so, and let's move on to that next day and see how it played out. And we'll do a Morgan Stanley update while we're here as well. Okay, so let's take a look at silver on the hourly time frame. We can see that it managed to shoot up really high and that it didn't touch 30. Okay, so let's just go over this on the 1 minute time frame back then. And there was your play to short down to 30, but it didn't occur. So now when you're losing, you got to figure out when do you get out of the mess. And hopefully, again, you might have gotten out somewhere near where you got in, or maybe even above this high at around 30.50 something. And then it goes shooting way up. Maybe you bought through resistance, but I wouldn't have. However, you see this big move, and it's retracing back. We're at 31. Sweet. Well, I know the high is 31.21. I know the low is 30.27. And I know the first Fibonacci level is 30.84. What does that mean? It means I buy at 30.84. Maybe put a place below this Fibonacci stop here at about 30.59. And we'll see how this thing would play out. And it played out really well. We'll get into silver in a little while, but I want to go over Morgan Stanley while I'm on here and give a little update within it. On the 2-day chart, I was saying that this thing was looking to break out. Well, guess what? We're pretty much at this Fibonacci line up here. No surprise. And then we'll take a look at this on the 8-day, which means that it's up towards here. So quite frankly, this was the area I was looking to state as a good short opportunity. So it's there, maybe another 50-cent gain. And in here, we're at an area again where I'd like to short on the 15-day time frame. So, yeah, I'll update you more on that later on in the months to come. Okay, now we need to move into September. We look at the daily silver chart, and boom, it had its big gain. You bought at that retracement, and well, now you know your target's 32.66. Maybe you sell a little bit then, and maybe you want to play the trump card, knowing that 33.5 is a much larger level, because we go back to the 6th of September. There's that 33.5 level. When you get there, that's when you would sell, at least if you're playing the paper game, that is. And on the daily chart back then, of course, there's no reason to think it was not going to go to that 33.5. And final day, which was on Friday, on the daily chart, we can see that you reach your target, you sell, and then you are waiting for the next setup to come into play. So there's a review of the last 3 months or so. Thank you for tuning in, and have yourself a magnificent week.